Welcome to the War Business Podcast, hosted by Matthew Bruneman, the author, Brendan Clark, your consigliere for all things war, and Dakota Maynard, the Appalachian war wizard. War is a business. Some would even call it a racket. Every modern war and every business has a carefully crafted marketing image. The War Business Podcast breaches that veil so you can hear the real stories of the average Americans who fight our wars and drive the war industry forward. Our mission is to tell the stories of conventional warriors. Let the captains of the war industry share their endeavors and inform the listeners of current global conflicts. All three hosts served in the United States Marine Corps and hold well-informed perspectives of war and war business. This concludes your introduction. Stand by for the episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, midshipmen and cadets, privates and terminal lances, Mustangs, and members of the Headshed, welcome to episode 5 of the War Business Podcast. Today, we continue diving into Matt's book, War Business, The Hired Guns of Helmand Province. We're going to pick up from where we left off last episode, where Matt deploys to the lovely country of Afghanistan. All right, so chapter 6, title of that chapter is called First Impressions. And I'm glad you're smoking a cigar today because I'm going to ask you about that later. All right, so you go to Afghanistan. You say you do a combat landing at Camp Dwyer and you enjoyed that a little bit.
So we took a C-130 from the Kandahar airfield to Camp Dwyer. The combat landing is they just spiral down as fast as they can to avoid. I mean, at that point in time, there's nothing to avoid. But I don't know. Just give us a good time before life sucks, I guess.
It was to fuck with the Gibbs, the guys in the back. They said, we got something for the Gibbs. Let's fucking shed some numbers.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I don't think I would. Anytime I wrote in anything military related, I was just ready to be back on land.
I don't care if I would be riding in a Osprey to go pick up $1 billion. I would hate it. I hated being in an Osprey. Love 53s. I didn't mind anything else. Just Osprey, no way.
The Osprey pilots.
I don't give a fuck. Humvee, a fucking the green line in Okinawa. I don't give a fuck. Get me out of every single military-owned vehicle. I don't want to be in one of them. I rode in the front of a fucking MP car one time. Didn't like that either.
Is that like a Ford?
It was the ones they had in Okinawa. I can't remember. It was
No,
a
they're like
tiny
little white cars. No, they're
Yeah,
like
it was
sedans.
a little tiny thing. I can't think. I don't know what it was. I'm sure it was an American manufacturer, but it was fucking small. I was walking back from the the hook and whatever the hook and jab is on Foster, and obviously at like a near death level of drunk, and I was singing that Lil White song, Oxycontin, and the MPs. I lived in the barracks with all the single MPs, so I knew most of them. And this MP car rolled up, and he had his window down, and he heard me, but he was a married dude, and I didn't know him. And he come on the bullhorn and was like, "Stop!" But I thought it was somebody I knew, and I was like a point fucking 9 BAC or whatever. So I just fucking took off running. And I was having fun, but he took me seriously. And then he gets out of the car. He's like, "Stop!" And he gets out of the car next to me and has the fucking taser out. And then he was like, "I'm going to tase you." And I was like, "Oh, Lord." And he called another car, and luckily the other car was one of my really good friends who just happened to be on duty. And he was like, "Oh no, no, that's Clark, man. Something's wrong with him. Don't tase him. I'll handle this." And so my buddy put me in the front seat of the squad car, and I was like, "Can you take me to the shopette?" And he fucking did. We went and got tornadoes, and he took me back to the barracks. Honestly, white privilege, probably.
I got tased once in the Marine Corps, totally unrelated. About shit myself. 0 out of 10 experience. A taser.
This
I'm scared of electricity to this day.
was the shitting yourself tornado related or taser related? Because it could go either way, honestly.
No, mango related, actually.
Oh,
Been eating a lot of mangoes in the Philippines, and then yeah, if you eat a lot of fruit like that, you just get the runs. I don't know if it's like the
Yeah.
sugar or what's going on with that, but
It's a pectin or something. Who
Yeah,
knows?
sugar,
yeah,
fiber, pectin.
yeah, and then like all your muscles tighten up like instantly, and man, if you got shit or piss, it's a bad spot to be in. You might just go, all right, let's get back on track a little bit here. All right, so you talk about in the episode, or not in the episode, I keep saying that. In the chapter, you received mortar fire the first day, is that right?
This was before we got to Dwyer, so this was day one in Afghanistan. For us, day one in Afghanistan was in Kandahar. So we spent, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 days in Kandahar. Maybe it was a week. We're supposed to acclimatize. So welcome to the country. Go hang out on this base with 40,000 personnel, local civilians, and all of that stuff. So yeah, day one, I don't know where my sergeant and I were going at, like maybe to a chow hall, exploring other nations' chow halls or something. But Kandahar itself was taking mortar fire and some RPG fire. Um, but to say Kandahar has taken mortar fires like drop. I mean, it's such a huge installation, so it wasn't impacting anywhere close to us. The RPGs were just going over. I don't know where they were landing, but nowhere close to us.
What a first day, though.
Yeah, it was still like, I mean, I know it's not impacting anywhere close, but it's still like, holy shit, welcome, welcome to the country.
Yeah. Did they brief you to not mess with the wildlife when you got there?
I have no idea.
Okay. It's always a classic Marine Corps thing to do
Are you
is to
talking about the third country nationals, that wildlife? The ones cleaning all the shitters, or
The
because they
haircut
told us about
ladies,
them?
the girls, the TCNs that are cutting your hair and fucking
Yeah.
it all up.
just
We
don't be
did get
messing with
safety
shit.
briefs for sure.
Oh,
A
I'm
bunch,
sure. Yeah.
ridiculous amount of safety briefs. This water's good, that water's not, whatever, don't. We got a whole bunch. But I will say the only, I know I did write about it. The only thing that I remember really about the safety briefs was one of the Army first sergeants. This is on Kandahar Airfield, CAF. He was giving us a brief and he was complaining to us that, he has a POV, personal vehicle on base, and it takes him 45 minutes to drive to work in the morning from his hooch or his can to his office. I was just like, wow, how many unnecessary people are out here? That's ridiculous.
It's crazy. All right. So you go from Kandahar to Camp Dwyer. You get to Camp Dwyer and they stick you on the night shift, right?
Yeah.
How was that for you? Are you a natural night owl or are you more of a early
No,
morning
no.
person?
Um, no. So I remember the very first night of night shift, I didn't show up, or someone had to come wake me up. I didn't show up at the appointed time because I just didn't wake up. But, I got a nice talking to and whatever, no big deal, moved on. It sucked though. Just being on night shift was not fun because being an intelligence analyst, we work in a skiff. So a secret compartmentalized information facility. You have to have clearance to be in there. So during the day, there's plenty of people in there, but at night, there's nobody in there. So it was pretty freaking lonely being there. And then, it was cool to be on effectively America time. So if I was ever going to call home or whatever, at least I wasn't calling home at in the middle of the night. It was, middle of the day for them for home. But yeah, it was just lonely, boring. Yeah, that was about it.
It's
Did you
not as
develop?
hot in the porta shitters at night. It's
No, but it
cooler.
sucks during the day trying to sleep.
Yeah, well, fuck, that's true.
Did you develop any type of techniques to stay awake?
Just lots of rippets. I mean, it wasn't a matter of I got used to working at night. I don't know how long it took, a couple of days or whatever it was. I got used to it. Just was what it was um, after a while. But yeah, still lots of rippets. I'm sure, let's see, what was that Twin Lab supplement everybody was gassing back in '04, '08, 2010? Yeah, it was whatever they were munching on in Generation Kill to stay awake.
Oh, Rip Fuel.
Rip Fuel. So yeah, I was eating those, but that was for funsies.
Yep.
This is for legal tweaking purposes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and Jack 3D still hadn't been outlawed yet. The original recipe. Um,
Spicy,
yeah,
spicy.
so that was good too.
That good shit.
I think Rip Fuel had some of the same ingredients early on. That was whenever they were they had like the baseball players having heart attacks because they were taking shit with ephedra in it. But
Yeah,
then so they had the ephedra ban, but then they were like, we have scientists that do this shit for us in China. And so it was like, well, it's not ephedra, but it's like three anoephedra. I don't know, whatever science words. And it like metabolizes into the same shit. So Rip Fuel and Jack 3D was on that type of shit. Whatever was in it metabolized into an ephedra or an ephedra alternative. And that was why it worked.
I think
Like Pete.
banning Jack 3D and Rip Fuel is probably why we lost the war. I think it was a downturn from there. So,
Yeah.
20, what, 11, 12 when they got rid of that stuff?
Yeah, that and Obama,
Yeah.
those two, I mean, that's kind of a confluence of the worst possible outcomes for the warfighter, really.
Him being
For sure.
commander in chief, Rip Fuel being removed off of the shelves. Yeah, probably.
I'm not saying correlation's causation, but seems like it. Yeah, it was definitely the golden era of pre-workout back then. It's downhill from there.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
yeah,
like you,
night shift was boring. Yeah, like I said, it was lonely in the fact that there was nobody else in the IOC Intelligence Operations Center. So on paper, I was the regimental intelligence night chief, but anybody with a pulse would have been that. And if anybody outranked me in if anybody was there that outranked me, they would have had that de facto title. So
no. I feel like I'm catching strays. No. If your title says chief, brother, you got it made. You're getting a name out of this one. That's what they say. That's
yeah.
what the head shed nerds say. And then the guy in the S1's like, well, I didn't get a name. Like, yeah, you didn't fucking do anything. You fucked up like seven people's pay.
When we're going to talk about awards here in a little bit,
Good.
before we dive into some of the juicy stuff in Chapter 7, Matt, anything you want to elaborate on for Chapter 6?
No, it was just welcome to Afghanistan. Just I thought it smelled real bad when I got there. So that was even in Kandahar. I was like, wow, this smells awful. And then when we got to Dwyer, it was the same smell. So I was like, okay, this is just the country. Um, and then yeah, it was just first time seeing Afghans, being most of which at that time I was seeing Afghan National Army soldiers, saw some civilians, but yeah. And then as far as seeing the Afghans, I was a little bit shocked thinking, before I got there, what are these guys going to look like, that type of thing. And it's like, hey, they don't look all that much different than real human beings. So yeah, it's a little bit surprising.
What was your first, do you remember your first experience encounter with moon dust? What did you think about that?
I mean, I think it was probably when we were still like 3,000 feet above sea level flying in, and that moon dust was just atomized in the air. That was probably the first interaction. But yeah, I guess it would have been Kandahar and just walking around. Yeah, that just gets in everything, permeates everything, and becomes part of like the molecular structure of the cotton or fabric that you're wearing. I mean, I
Mhm.
still have my deployment computer from both deployments. That same computer, it's still full of moon dust.
Moon dust and Jenna Jameson cuts. Gross.
True, true.
All right, so Chapter 7, title of that chapter is RTC-1's Legacy. Some pretty cool stuff in this chapter. You start out talking about Casavacs or Medivacs. Ring home with me because I felt like we were always practicing Medivacs in the Marine Corps at all times. Every unit I went to, it was something like we were always trying to refine and be better at, practicing it all the time. I think even times at 7th ESB, Brendan and we would practice with our Marines on Casevacs and slapping tourniquets on. And back then, it felt like the Marine Corps was really, really focused on that. So hearing you talk about like how these flight officers were realizing like the golden hour of CASEVACs and developing the new SOPs that RTC-1 had developed as far as troops in contact would say tick if things were bad enough, and then that would prompt pilots, I guess, to run to the helos and get airborne right away in case a Marine was wounded. They could get there even quicker. So trying to say or like shave minutes off of that golden hour to maximize that time that they could be brought back.
Yeah, for sure. So we when we were deploying, before we were deploying, because it was going to be Afghanistan, things like that, the regimental commander had his basically his pick of the litter. I mean, he brought somebody that I think he hadn't served in 20 years. And this dude was like 100 years old and got out as a major. And he brought that guy back in to come with us and work in the S3. So he had, commander picked a lot of heavy hitters as far as staff, the majors, lieutenant colonels, and whatnot. So the air officers, super good to go. I don't remember their accolades, but they were there was a reason why they were there. So they had coordinated with the dust off crew. So the dust off was the unit and the call sign for the Blackhawks that were running medevacs. So they had doubled down on the golden hour. So when someone has a traumatic event, that's a limb is missing, gunshot wound, things like that. If you can start rendering proper aid within the first hour, so the golden hour, their chance of survival is exponentially higher. So there was some coordination with that, and it was, kind of pitching to them. I don't know the full details of, what the conversations were, but it was, hey, we're going to start, we being RCT1, we're going to start talking to you guys, letting you guys know when Marines out in their respective AOs start patrolling into some historically kinetic areas, or we're going to be doing a major operation, clearing a whole new part of a city, things like that. So there was just a lot of coordination. The dust off crews, I mean, they were super willing and ecstatic to help. I mean, they're going out there to save dudes. Um, so just being able to have a little bit more like a drop on when to go. That's kind of what the RCT-1 air officers did in that respect. So we saw, I don't even want to throw the guy's name out, but I've told you guys, when we were fishing out by a lake in Oklahoma, certain guy that he had come to Dwyer. He'd gotten just all sorts of fucked up, and we flew him in, and he had gotten like 54 or something units of blood pumped into him just because. But had he had rescue not gotten to him within that first hour, um, things most likely would be different. He wouldn't be alive today.
That blood part is pretty interesting. Sometimes, and we've heard this from other friends too, depending on your blood type, you might just be a walking blood bank for other folks. Was that pretty common where they'd say, hey, is anybody like O negative or any certain blood type, and they just need to get your blood right then and there so they could help some other guys out?
Yeah, it happened more than once. I don't know, half dozen times. It was, because Operation Mashtarak was going on, which was the invasion of Marja. It was, we had the cash, so the Combat Support Hospital would send out a base-wide email, and things would go over the radio and comms. It was basically, we are out of blood of this blood type. Anybody who has that blood type, come here right now. We have somebody here that needs that blood right now. Get over there. So you just drop all your shit and go straight over there and take that blood. And I mean, it was just coming out of you and go right into him.
Yeah, some guys I don't know if I would want their blood. Um, some guys are, doing some crazy ass shit on the weekends. But I felt like the Marine Corps had a lot of initiatives. Even whenever I was just getting into the Marine Corps back then, there were a lot of blood drives um, where they were trying to gather up blood. But, when you need it, you're not going to be choosy. But I guess if I had to choose, give me like those civil airmen, like I'd take the blood from the airmen versus some of my buddies who were doing some crazy shit. And then I had found out in high school that if you give some blood and then go get a couple of beers afterwards, that's a pretty good time. I don't know the science behind it all. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to tell people to try it, but if you give some blood and you drink some beers afterwards, you can be a pretty cheap drunk that night. So there
I
were a
think
few
the
times. Have
I
you
think
ever done
this
it?
no, but I think the science is pretty. It's kind of a plus and minus formula. Like if you minus blood and plus alcohol, you get fucked up.
Yeah,
And
your
so
blood
if you,
Yeah.
alcohol content. Yeah, it's
yeah, like
easier.
the less blood you have, the less alcohol it takes to increase your blood alcohol content, and then all of a sudden you're ready to fight. Who
You'll be
knows?
on the floor. You
Roommate,
get
I
two
don't know.
tall boys in you after you give
Mm.
blood that same day, and you'll be like crawling on the ground. Um, but it was a cheap way back in high school just to, get drunk real cheap. And then in the Marine Corps too, not so much when we got to Japan. I wonder if it was like smallpox or something, or like maybe we'd been so vaccinated at that point they didn't want that blood. But I felt like um, through boot camp and then MCT and then engineer school, there were like all these different blood drives where they were trying to gather up blood, I guess, to get over to Afghanistan for all the guys that needed it over there. Is that a thing when y'all were just getting in the Marine Corps or no?
Don't recall.
I don't remember. I feel like they didn't want blood from people that had recently been tattooed, and that knocked a fucking lot of people off of the.
Swore there was something to do with smallpox on why they didn't want anybody's blood from Okinawa because they give you that like cowpox deal. You know what I'm talking about? That festering ass. Y'all had to get it to go to Afghanistan, right? Or no?
I didn't get it. I got fucked up. The doc was like, "You got some shit going on with your skin, dude. You can't get it." And they just never gave it to me. I didn't get it any of the times I went overseas. I spent fucking half of the time I was in the Marine Corps outside of the fucking US, and they never gave me that smallpox shit. But the scab, I guess, is dangerous, and they're like, you got to be really careful with your Band-Aid. But then you go in the fucking rain room in Camp Wilson or wherever, and it's just like the drain in the middle of the floor is just fucking swirling with dirty ass Band-Aids, dude, from the smallpox shits. Oh, dude, I got one in my crock. Oh, gross.
Did you have to get it, Matt? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um, I skated out of those smallpox, anthrax both times.
The anthrax one fucking hurts though, and that shit. That like what, dude? I don't work in Tom Dashiell's office. Why the fuck are you giving me a fucking anthrax vaccine every year?
Yeah, with the
For
boosters. Yeah.
Bleh.
Yeah, I had to get all my anthrax shot. I had to get every shot again when I got to 7th ESB because they had lost my medical record before they swapped to digital or whatever. And so like my medical record never came from cab to 7th. So I had to get
Perfectly
every
safe.
vaccination
It's
again.
fine. That doesn't explain anything about your tism, bro. There's like
Like,
give him fucking 500 cc's of fucking Tylenol and 17 more JEV virus shots,
Yet my
dude.
veins glow in the dark. I'm not sure what that's all about, but
The JEV one before you go to Japan, I feel like that was one that fucking hurt too. It put like a knot in your muscle. It may have
oh
been
God.
something else, but I think it was the Japanese, whatever it is, like Japanese encephalitis or whatever that they give you specifically when you go to Japan. And that one of them fucking hurt, and I think it was the JEV.
Fucking Navy hooks you up.
They got some shit for everything, dog. They got some shit for everything.
Yeah, boot camp was wild because you get all your first shots in boot camp. They're like, if the guy passes out in front of you or whatever, catch him. And you just go down the line, and I mean, they're just happy to stick you. And those fucking bastards are like throwing darts in you, you know? Never was a fan of needles. Still really hate needles. I haven't gave blood in a long time. Thought about giving plasma, for a little extra cash. A lot of drug addicts do that. Okay, got a little sidetracked there, but needed blood. I'm not making fun of anybody that needs blood. It's a horrible thing when that happens.
I am. If you need blood, you're a pussy. I'm making fun of you, dude.
The
You
corpsman
know what do
probably would
you
be
what,
like,
you need a fucking lollipop and a back rub too? Get real. Grow up, Peter Pan. You need blood. Fucking suck it.
fucking corpsman, or the freaking corpsman would probably be like, yeah, change your socks, take a motor. And you're like, Doc, I have no
Like,
legs. And
Doc,
he's
why
like,
is your med bag full of fucking Skittles, dude? Why don't you have any medicine with you? What the fuck?
only in the Marine Corps. So you talk about how RCT-1 developed some SOPs that later on trickled down into the Marine Corps from y'all's experience in Afghanistan. That was something I even noticed when I was in the Marine Corps, that a lot of knowledge was being passed down from the guys that were in Afghanistan to the guys just getting into the Marine Corps, from boot camp, MCT, even engineer school. A lot of lessons learned were being passed down. So I felt at the time that, and in hindsight too, I feel like the Marine Corps did a good job of passing lessons learned and SOPs that were developed in Afghanistan down to everybody else.
I'm not sure how it is for every MOS, but is for intelligence, part of the post-deployment, I don't know, cycle was a few of us, not me, few of us from RCT-1 intelligence section had to go to the schoolhouse like right after we got back from Afghanistan and basically do, you know, a debrief, a downlink, and so show, relevant stuff to the schoolhouse. But that's just at least on the intel side.
That's a Marine Corps Center for Lessons Learned thing, right? So the
Well,
Marine
there
Corps
was
has,
that, so everyone's always adding to that. You can, jump onto that digital repository, check that out.
Maynard, did you ever learn a volcano charge, like on a demo range? You ever heard of a volcano charge?
Mm-mm.
That was one of the Afghan OEF TTP sort of things where I think guys from First CEB developed it to breach those fucking thick shit walls they have around compounds. And it was like, it seemed to me it was like a P equals plenty thing with C4, but it had an SOP to determine how much net explosive weight you needed in a volcano charge given the measurements of these mud walls. But that was like, so one of the two of the dudes I went to Australia with in 2015 had been with First in like 2008, 2009. And they were kind of on the ground when the volcano charge was developed, according to them. I don't know, sure, you know, but I mean, that's the Center for Lessons Learned. I think the Marine Corps Center for Lessons Learned has been around probably since Korea, especially like during Vietnam. That would have been a useful ass piece of the institution to have around because there was a lot of Vietnam specific information for warfighters that you just wouldn't know from prior experience in, I don't know, Korea or World War II, I guess.
Yeah.
Army has one too. I remember reading through a lot of the Army Center for Lessons Learned stuff. A lot of it coming from Iraq that I thought was pretty interesting, just for fun reading. Just had nothing else to do, just thumbing through some of those articles. But for the volcano charge, you just know it's some hillbilly ass Marine with a giant pinch of grizzly wintergreen. And it was like, hell, man, we're gonna make a damn volcano charge with
What's
all
the
this
coolest,
seafood.
what's the coolest fucking thing you could think of, man? I think a fucking volcano's cool as shit, man. That's what we'll call it, man. It's a volcano charge. Shit'll be tight, man.
And then the Marine Corps still uses it to this day. You do talk a little bit about the generals in this chapter, Matt, which I think foreshadows for like the end of your book. Uh, Basically, how I interpret it is the generals just sucked.
For the most part, I would say that's a pretty fair statement.
Yeah. I want to steal the thunder from your last chapter, which we'll probably do a whole episode on the last chapter, but I think that's the general consensus from everybody who deployed to Afghanistan. Felt like the generals had really let them down for various reasons.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess we can foreshadow the last chapter and just speak to it a little bit. So there was a rotation as far as commanders of ISAF NATO forces. So the senior general in charge of all the forces in Afghanistan basically just had a year, like, hey, go out there for a year, come on home, we'll send the next guy. And it was their time in that responsibility or assuming command was not based off of accomplishments, how much progress has been made, things like that. So it was, hey, go for a year and you're going to pass it off to the next guy. Wish him good luck. So eventually it went from, as the war progressed, the next guy that would come would be like, well, I got all the ideas to win it, and let's change X, Y, and Z, and then we'll do that. And then war is not done. So the next guy shows up and it's like, you know what? I have the actual way we're going to do this.
The secret sauce.
We're going to start doing, you know, X, Y, and Z differently. So there's just, wasn't based off progress, accomplishment. It was just, hey, go serve your time, that type of thing. So yeah, but we can get into that at the end of the book.
Oh, and we will for sure. All right, let's talk about chapter 8. Title of that chapter is Aerial Interdiction Force. Arguably the coolest chapter of your book, in my opinion. You did a lot of cool stuff. Maybe some not cool stuff because you stole people's drugs. And that's kind of a little bit of
That's
a Blue
cool as
Falcon.
fuck. What
I
are you
mean, hey,
talking about? That's cool as
maybe
shit.
the good time police,
Hitting
I'll
the lick,
allow it,
dude.
No, I'm just kidding. It was super cool. Stealing drugs from the Taliban is super cool. Another semi-serious question for you. Did you ever just see a lanced poppy and you're like, take your finger and wipe it just to see if it was like good or not?
Next question.
Do you think, and this is like a little more nebulous, think that in like a serious world, the DEA would have fucking recruited the piss out of you like straight from post-deployment leave, like in a serious world, instead of the fucking made up bullshit that we live in?
If this was, I don't know, the 70s, yeah. I don't even
If
know if DEA was a thing then, but yeah, no, pretty much, yeah. Well, if you're serious, if the DEA, yeah, in a serious world, yes.
right. All right. Sorry, move on.
But
Um,
to your previous question, Maynard, that we weren't getting poppy bulbs, so this had already been processed into heroin. It was packaged up. The canvas sacks had the dealer's stamp on it, their trademark and everything. It was right being
right.
exported.
And
It's
you elaborate that.
Afghanistan animation, dude. What's Johnny Chimpo? It's got fucking Johnny Chimpo on it.
You talk about it in the book too. Now, it wasn't a serious question, but I just know, like if some Marines are patrolling through a poppy field and the bulbs have been lanced, one of them is going to lick the bulb. Just, I could see it happening. This is a kind of an interesting question, and it's a very elusive chit to receive in DoD, but you handled a lot of drugs. Did you ever get the chit that said, it's okay if you pop hot on a piss test?
No, never got that. There was a time where I don't know, I had talked to my sergeant about it when I had gotten back. So the other Intel Marine that was installing the tracking devices with me, Matthew Dyba, um, we were snooping around in a car and we found this sack of, I still don't know what it is to this day, but he was just trying to get it open and he just ripped it open and all the shit went in my face. And I mean, I guess you could say I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't eat a chit after that, but I was waiting for about 10 minutes. We were like, all right, let's see what happens, see how you feel.
What do
Uh,
my pupils look like, Diva?
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Oh man, you start seeing like the purple dragon from all those like online trainings or whatever. He's like pilking around the helicopter, like looking at you.
Maybe I would have seen the Afghan Yeti or the
Dude,
Kandahar Giants.
oh
Who knows?
fuck.
I wish you
Like
guys would have.
it hit you. You know that shit hit you when the deployment stopped sucking for like an hour and a half. You're like, this
I
isn't
fucking
actually
love it
that
here.
bad, dude. This
Yeah.
is fucking pretty cool, dude.
You know what? Those generals are doing a pretty good job out here.
You know what, Daiba? I fucking love you, man. I don't think I say it enough.
So you're catching a lot of drugs that are leaving from Afghanistan, heading to Iran and Pakistan. Did you ever interdict things that were coming in from those countries as well?
Um, no. The intelligence trigger that would trigger a raid, we were looking for things exiting. There was interdictions. Basically, Afghanistan doesn't just smuggle opium. That they smuggle a whole bunch of goods. I don't know if you would call it contraband, but like little kids' bikes and toys and stuff like that. Like they are a conduit for black market between other countries. So in that way, yes, but we stop them and they've got this giant jingle truck full of stuff. We'd talk to them and things like that. We'd be looking for satellite phones. They didn't have them. It's just, all right, keep going on your smuggling adventure. We're here for drugs and sat phones. And then later, the AIF interdiction force evolved into just hitting other targets as needed, like Taliban commanders, things like that.
Were you ever worried that some of the vehicles you were intercepting were VBIEDs?
Yeah, so the very first, I don't know, month or two, we weren't too worried about it, but just, the Taliban adjusting tactics, we definitely started worrying about it. I don't know, month three, four. Around month five, we got an EOD guy attached to us, so it was, a worry within the command. So it's not just us going up to the vehicle. Daiba and I would search every vehicle. We just do like a hasty search for a bomb, something like that. So it wasn't just a worry for us getting murphed. It was also, hey, well, we're loading these things in the back of a 53, so we want to make sure that there's no ID. I don't know, around month five, maybe it was month six. This is month six of the AIF, so this would be month 10, 11, 12 of this deployment. And I'm not shitting you, Daiba and I are sleeping 2 hours a night, maybe 4 hours a night. Sometimes I'd go 36, 40 hours straight without sleeping. We're just way too busy. So I was just drained at this point. We had an EOD guy. He was really cool. And then for whatever reason, he left and we got this EOD gunny, just this fat EOD gunny. And I mean, just based off of his appearance, I just couldn't stand the guy. Just thought it was unsatisfactory. But anyway, so he's a gunny. Um, and then he wanted to run the show when we would get on target. Typically, it was Daiba and I running the show, so we were looking for satellite phones or opium. If if we found a sat phone, we'd exploit the vehicle, and there would be a whole process that would go on. Marines would take this guy, the driver, away so he wouldn't watch Daiba and I, you know, rig up his car for 15, 20 minutes. Um, Anyways, this one raid with EOD guy, the fat gunny, he got on scene and just like, we need to stop doing XYZ. There's something hard in the back of this truck under the hay. Everybody needs to get back. I don't know, maybe because I had already cut a couple dead babies in half or whatever. I just walked up to the back of that truck and I pulled out the knife on my chest and I stabbed whatever was in the back. I just stabbed right through the glass. Ended up being a tire and an inner tube, and he damn near shit his pants when all the hay and everything flew all over him. And then after that, he didn't come out. Somebody else came out. But we didn't
We
find any bombs then. But as far as me installing tracking devices and video cameras, we did have a guy. One of the contractors, the Afghans that would bring our water onto the base, he was having his flatbed, his truck, an Afghan semi, checked out, and the guys at the gate found a false bottom with IED. I think he was just missing the pressure plate. So he had that in the false bottom of the truck. So they were suspecting he's gonna, just do something in stages or meet up with somebody inside the base already, whatnot. So with that, I don't know, this was like 10 o'clock at night. Someone comes, wakes Daiba and I up, gets us out of the hooch, tells us what's going on. So we went and put a tracking device in this guy's truck. And instead of, detaining and prosecuting the guy, we just sent him out doing our bidding.
The tiny camera part I think is interesting. Do you ever catch anything wild on the tiny camera? Like where would like if you're allowed to say, are you putting like the tiny camera in the cab, um, somewhere on the outside of the vehicle, or where are these
Under
tiny
the,
cameras go?
does it go under the seat in the porta shitter? Where does it go?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I can talk about one, um, since it didn't involve Taliban or enemy. We wanted to see what some Afghan generals were talking about, Afghan generals and colonels. So it may or may not have found itself useful then.
Interesting.
They were talking
Just
about chai boys. They were talking about chai boy. They were talking about which chai boy was the tightest.
I just didn't know if you like put it in the cab and like dude's just driving for a while and pulls over somewhere and just cranks one out and you're like having to watch this. How awful would that be?
Well, pops the glove compartment open. There's a pygmy goat in there. That's his fucking, that's his pocket pussy, dude. His pygmy goat is on the road, Fifi.
One of those ones that falls over and passes out when it gets too excited.
Dude, it's like, like, no, turn loose of the pygmy Fifi, you fucking criminal.
So about these smugglers, were they always Taliban?
No. Well, I don't know which way you're asking, but I would suspect no. So some were, some weren't, but Taliban came to power to stop child rape and opium production. Now, the CIA had started the opium trade in Afghanistan, then that's, 50s, 60s, 70s, and later. And then Taliban comes and says no more drug exports, being heroin. Then we go there. So in that respect, I'm not sure. There were some times. So one dude, we roll up on the guy. He's not being cooperative. He's just mean mugging the shit out of me and Daibo. We're like, get out of the vehicle, get out of the car. He's not listening, not responding. So we pull him out of the car. What's your name? Where are you going? That type of thing. Doesn't want to respond. We were talking about whether or not we should just shoot the guy. And at that point, the guy turns and says, well, hey, how's my English? Or how do you like my English? And Daiba said, it's pretty good. Where'd you pick that up? And he says, oh, in Florida. And he doesn't speak like how you think an Afghan would try to speak English. He just spoke English. So that was a little bit weird. Some other guys that had drugs and stuff, they also had guns. I think we talked about it. They had permission slips, like, hey, we're allowed to have these AK-47s. So that was weird. That there had already been a pre-existing ban on AK-47s in Afghanistan, so nobody could have it. So you couldn't just have an AK, to protect your home, that type of thing. So nobody could have it unless you're a police officer. These guys were not, but they had permission slips, provincial permission slips for guns. Detained some other people where, dudes in suits came in and said, you never caught these guys. You've never seen them before. Delete this reporting, delete everything about this. Never happened.
Still going on the fit rep, dude. I'm still putting it on my fit rep.
Yeah, let's
Fuck you. Fuck you, three-letter man. This shit is going. I'm getting promoted off of this, dude.
Yeah. And then where the drugs were going was just a whole different question. And I don't mean where they're trying to smuggle them to. I just mean when we recovered them and brought them back to base. What was happening at that point? Daiba and I would take custody of the opium in the field and the ride back in the helo. And then when we got back, we would hand that opium off to a civilian. And what happened at that point, I have no idea.
What about Al Qaeda guys? You ever interdict a few Al Qaeda guys?
I don't know. So, I mean, we were interdicting and people that were popping positive on biometrics for, having a terror nexus. But basically, if you had a satellite phone at this time cost at least $1,500, a couple grand to buy it. And then also we looked it up and we were in country. It was the cheapest rate, like for like, I don't know, 30 minutes or like 60 minutes was like $800 US dollars. So, I mean, how they're paying for that stuff. So if you had a satellite phone, you were important.
Makes sense. Just ask about that Al Qaeda thing because you're so close to Pakistan, and the Pakistanis loved to harbor the Al Qaeda fellas. You do talk about big Taliban, little Taliban. Is that your phrase, or is that something that was?
No,
Go
that
ahead and
was,
elaborate on.
something I only heard it referred to within the intelligence community, but I'm sure other people had used it. But it refers to big Taliban would be your Taliban senior leadership, and then little Taliban would be, the guy shooting at you. Taliban senior leadership was almost always in Pakistan, hanging out in Pakistan and whatnot. So they would use Helmand province to get in and out of the country since it's by Pakistan, Iran, things like that. So your little Taliban would just be the guys that are either forced to put a bomb in the ground. It's like, hey, farmer, we're going to pay you a month's wages. Just go dig this hole and put a bomb in it. And, you know, that we would just refer to them as Taliban, but even though they were being, I guess, pragmatic. So you'd be little Taliban that way. Big Taliban would just be the ideologically hard-lined Taliban.
Gotcha. Question for both of you. Would you consider Pakistan to be the worst ally of the United States?
No, there's 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 one that's worse.
It
There's,
will get banned if we
there's a
say that.
worse there's a worse ally than Pakistan.
We'll probably get banned for talking about that. They're not a very good ally, though, is what I'm getting at. I think about this all the time. They really undermined our efforts in Afghanistan. And
What were our efforts in Afghanistan?
Fucking honestly, aura farming, dude. Like the Afghan war, the GWAT, a lot of aura farming. It wasn't, that's not what it was called then. But if you weren't aura farming on deployment, you were a fucking loser when you came back. Like the entire special forces community, 20 years, aura farming. And you can't tell me, you can't point out the lie, dude. Point out the fucking lie. 88 Mike goes to Iraq to work on a vehicle, comes back with the fucking collage of cool pictures from Iraq or farming. What did you guys do in Iraq? Did you build a stable government? Well, not really. What did you guys do in Afghanistan? Did you get the population under control? Well, not really, but check out these sick ass pictures we took.
you do talk about dead kids in this chapter, Matt, I think a few times. Pretty tough stuff. Do those images still stick with you? Is that something that you think about quite often?
Mm,
Crazy
no,
question. Crazy
no,
ass question, but go on, Matt. Sorry.
not really. I two two of the kids, they were infants already dead, bagged up in, like plastic bags and saran wrap. Like, yeah, I cut them in half, which is just fucking heinous and awful, but they were already dead. And I already know what the owners were gonna do with them anyway, so cutting them in half wasn't the worst thing. So that doesn't bother me too much. The other one a little bit with the father who was trying to take his daughter and trying to leave, and just me not letting them leave because I hadn't searched their vehicle and things like that. Just as I became a father, I don't feel bad about what I did, but I just when I put myself in that dude's shoes and hey, I'm unarmed, want nothing more than my daughter to get help, and I have to sit here because this fucking retard with his stupid mustache and a gun won't let me leave. Like I would feel bad about that. Don't lose
You think
sleep
all
over it.
mustaches are stupid? You think every mustache is fucking stupid? Fuck you, Maynard. Not a question for you, pig.
It's just my lip line and the Marine Corps regulations.
Fair.
made it look like
Real.
I don't know, like a fuzzy caterpillar with a little bit of mold on it
Yeah.
was growing
Get
under
that.
my nose. So
Super
it just,
real.
yeah.
They said we're gonna make this mustache regulation, this facial hair regulation so fucking stupid that nobody's gonna do it. Little did they know. We're gonna do it.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna be 21 and have the fucking worst facial hair density, and I'm still growing that bitch out. And you're gonna have to take me seriously because I'm the only person telling you the things that I know. I'm sorry to sidetrack us. I just felt
No,
like
no, no. It
I
was
felt like I
relevant. He
caught
did.
another stray. I felt like I caught another stray.
No, he did bring up the mustache. It was relevant. No, I was just as I read that, I don't know. I don't think you were to blame at all. I mean, you had nothing to do with that child being in that situation to begin with. Just wrong place, wrong time, and that's a little bit of life, unfortunately.
That's something that when I worked for that mental health nonprofit, that's something that a lot of dudes like. I don't know if it's fucking IQ related or EQ related or what, but a lot of dudes had a lot of guilt about shit that it's like, hey man, maybe I'm low IQ, but I'm not gonna carry a tremendous amount of weight because I did what I was told to do. Because it's like, oh, you could rationalize somebody getting shot or getting their legs blown off. It's like, well, they signed the dotted line. Well, it's the same thing with a moral injury, right? Like you go downrange and you get a moral injury because you did something you regret having did. It's not your job to decide whether or not something is ethical or moral or not. It's your job to execute the task that your commander and fucking experiences vary when it comes to taking orders, but it's your job to execute the task your commander issues you for the day or for the deployment or for the whatever. And so like I think a lot of dudes are unfairly harsh on themselves. But I don't know, I think Matt is like I think Matt, I know for me, like my moral and ethical decisions in Afghanistan they're pretty lightweight. We weren't exactly making major league decisions here at the fucking Clarka Cabana. But I hope that Matt, and I really hope that anybody that wasn't violating law flagrantly or making their own decisions that were outside of the lawful conduct of war. I hope that they don't really lose too much sleep over it. You did what you were fucking told to do, and that's what you signed up to do. You didn't sign up to field day, but you sure as fuck did. You just did what you were told to do. It's not a moral or ethical consequence for you as much as a lot of dudes think it is. It's a you sign on the dotted line. If you would have bought the farm and they mail your parents a $400,000 check, most dudes would be like, well, I signed up. It was a risk I knew I was assuming. Granted, they're not around to say it whenever they buy the farm, right? But it's the same thought process.
Yeah, that brings me back to like multiple conversations I had with my dad before both deployments. And, he was telling me, you're gonna be different. Just do what you have to do to come home, that type of thing. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see, I deployed 4 days after I turned 20 or something like that. A day after I turned 20 or something. I didn't understand what he was saying. And it comes down to some of the moral injury and things you have to do. He's just like, whatever it is, just come home. Like, of course, not, don't do another My Lai massacre, but, whatever you got to do, just come home and deal with it after. And so that's kind of like in that situation with the girl, when the father that wanted to leave and whatnot, it was like, you're not going anywhere. I don't know if you have a bomb in the car or if, this lady who I'm not allowed to search because our generals are pussies. I'm not allowed to search, but I know as an intel guy, I read reporting all the time that Taliban commanders dress in women's clothing and the burqa because we cannot search women. I don't know if, she's a she or she's a he, and this isn't LGBTQ 2021 times. This is, 2011 times. So that whole situation is one of those things where it's like, yeah, the I guess moral injury, just doing whatever you have to do to make sure you come home and the rest of the Marines come home, and everything else everyone else and your feelings be damned. Just would I feel worse if there was a bomb and it went off and killed a dude or someone lost his arm or leg or whatever? I'd feel infinitely worse.
I take that back. I did suffer a moral injury, but it wasn't because of the choice I made. It was kind of like Matt was saying, like, before I went to boot camp. My mom stopped me. This is a true story. You guys both know my mom. It's fucking out of character for her. And she stopped me in the kitchen at the house and she was like, "No, you're joining the Marines. I just want you to know, no matter what, I'll be proud of you." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "I know that thing." Game face. She was like, "I know that Marines spend like an extended amount of time on ships and any port in a storm, just know that I won't judge you for who you love." And I was like, "Motherfucker." It was morally injurious to my spirit. I was like, "Damn, mom, you think I would be on the boat like pounding some butt, doing poop sex, bro? Not me. Stop. Why are you saying this to me, dude?"
What's she like, Brendan? Don't sleep on your stomach. That's all I'm saying.
No, dude. What she was trying to tell me is she was like, "I don't care how you sleep or in whose bunk. I'll be proud of you no matter what." And I was like, "Dude, we ain't doing all that. Please relax. Like
Oh my God.
I'm not bringing a shipmate home for Christmas. Damn." And then there was a bunch of holidays where I did have like friends from the military come, and I'm sure, fuck, Maynard, the first time you came to Oklahoma, you got all drunk at my cousin's wedding and told everybody we were gay, bro. They believed that for years.
Oh, that was too funny.
They believed that for years.
Yeah, I've just always fucked with Clark for a long time. It just brings
This
me great
motherfucker
joy.
this motherfucker lived in Oklahoma for like 2 hours, and I was like, "I got a cousin getting married, dude. You want to ride out and be free beer and stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah, hell yeah, man. Tennessee, fucking Rebel Yell or whatever." And we go down to podunk ass Western Oklahoma, and my aunts are all gossiping ass Catholic ladies, you know what I mean? And so they're like, "Who are you? Who are you?" And Maynard told everybody me and him was fucking gay, man. It was brutal. I had to answer for that for a long time.
They probably still believe it. I mean, it's probably the mustache now that keeps them convinced.
It's probably the fact that you wear adult diapers and when you fart, it sounds like they probably think I'm a big top, dude.
All right, we gotta move on here. All right, you flew in a lot of helicopters, Matt. It's unfortunate the Marine Corps didn't give you like air miles or something, you know? Like you
You
get
could have
a,
got you should have got one of those really cool enlisted aircrew badges for your uniform so people would know how cool you were.
Yeah, that would have been pretty freaking cool.
Pretty
I
neat.
love the 53s. I think all but two of the raids were out of 53s and a couple were just in 46s. But yeah, the 53s were awesome.
oh, 46 is our, this is gonna offend some people. I think a 46 is a giant piece of shit. It's just true. You ride it. I rode in a bunch of them. And then like we'd be over the ocean and like I don't know where this thing like drops like 10 feet or I don't even know, but it like just drop out of nowhere. I'm like fucking grabbing onto my seatbelt. And then I'm like, what's going on? And the crew chief's like, hit a bad pocket of air. I'm like, this doesn't happen in any other helicopter I ride in. Not a fan of the 46. And the airframes are so old for the 46. They're all like Vietnam era airframes.
Did you see that? You see that 46 that was State Department in Kabul, and it got retired in Kabul in 2021. But its tail number it had done part of the Saigon airlift at the end of Vietnam War. It was a Marine Corps 46 back then, and then fucking a million years later, it was State Department 46 in Afghanistan. Now it's permanently in Afghanistan. I think maybe in a museum. Maybe not, but fucking 46 is the last helicopter I rode in like 3 months ago. I rode in one of the Flying Museum 46s, and you're not wrong. I'm the one that's here to say I don't want to be in fucking any government vehicle. I don't care. Government could buy a fleet of Teslas, and I would be like, I don't trust this fucking computer to drive me to the gas station for Zens or whatever. But the 46s are. And it is like I got people that I work with that are going to be like, you don't like a 46. Full disclosure, no, I fucking don't.
Yeah, not very. You just don't feel good about riding in a 46. Like a 53, you're like, feel good about this. Like it's pretty smooth, you know. They're just beefy ass. They're just a good helicopter.
And in that Transformers movie, dude, in that Transformers movie, it was a CH-53 that transformed into, granted, a Decepticon, but that shit was tight.
Yeah, now they're good birds though, for sure. But I still think 500 trips in a Marine Corps helicopter without crashing should be like some type of an award.
You should get a little gold, like a little gold 53 to put on your desk. Maybe not, maybe not like 18 karat. We're talking, look, it looks like it's gold. Maybe you got to polish it and it's actually brass kind of a thing, but something, shit.
Yeah, a lot of time in those. A lot of, I don't know, drank a lot of hydraulic fluid, that's for sure.
A little treat you can have every now and then.
Yeah, it just pisses all over. But there is something to say about what Dakota just said about the amount of time in one. Got lucky for sure.
Yeah. Like I never deployed to a combat zone, but it felt like each time I had a successful trip in a helicopter and then like went out on another one, like another Marine Corps helicopter, you're like, is this gonna be the fucking time? And I had
Hey,
done the
wait a
helo
minute. You
dunker.
never deployed to a combat zone?
Never deployed to a combat zone.
This is news to me. Bruneman, so I know that like when we went, I asked this question when we went in 2012 and they were briefing us about threats. We went and checked out their armory and stuff of like captured weapons and shit. And I asked them then about the presence of man pads in Afghanistan because Afghanistan was one of the countries that historically the United States has just kind of gave a fucking shitload of man pads to. And they downplayed it then. Have you seen anything since then where they talked about man pads in Afghanistan? I think I read an article or read a fucking something, a FOIA, something or another that talked about man pads having some shit to do with one of the SEAL team crashes in Afghanistan. What have you heard about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Red Wings or something
That's
like that.
that's what
But
I wanted to say that. That was my gut instinct, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So thanks for taking that.
yeah, so the Mujahideen fighting the Soviets, they got something like they got a shit ton of billions of US dollars, and then the US, strong armed Saudi Arabia into matching the amount. And we measured what we gave them in dollars, but basically it was, guns, dishkas, and man pads. So there are these
Did we give them stingers or did we give them iglas?
SA-7s.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
stingers, we're giving them stingers. So they had a whole bunch of stingers. So right when the US invaded in, late '01, '02, the CIA was going around paying, I don't know, a million or more to the Taliban per man pad just to buy it from them and get it off the battlefield, that type of thing. So there's a whole bunch of man pads out there. There was, yeah, it's, I don't know, credibly alleged that the man pad was used with Operation Red Wings. There was another incident in, so I'm not saying the Marine Corps Cobra shot down in 2010 in Helmand province was with a man pad, but I know nothing about that incident, and that's strange to know nothing.
and
So
for reference for the listener or for the producer or whomever, man pads is man portable air defense system. I think it's a missile launcher that a dude shoots at like a low altitude aircraft. You're not shooting down a fucking U-2 with these things.
I had a bunch of in Venezuela, apparently. That's what that helicopter damage happened from in Caracas was a igla. They had some crazy shit going on though. A lot of those igloos apparently misfired. Like they would hit like 100 feet and then just not go above 100 feet. I don't know what the fucking Space Force or whoever's doing some type of crazy shit like that. But it's like one of the four civilian casualties was in Caracas was from a igla that didn't go hit the target, went like 100 feet up and then slammed into an apartment building and
Well,
killed some other lady.
they are a complex weapon system. Like a Stinger doesn't fire its main motor to get out of the tube. It has, I don't know, I'm not a fucking lad gunner, but it has like a kicker that gets it out of the tube to a safe distance where the main motor arms. And there's uh liquid nitrogen or some shit to keep because the the computer gets so fucking hot tracking like targets that it has to be super cooled. And so that's one of the considerations with the Stinger. And I would imagine Estrella or an Igla is not entirely different. That there's probably a lot of like sensitive technology that goes into these things operating effectively. And if you're in Venezuela and you have some 30-year-old shit that's been sitting in the armory that hasn't been PM'd or whatever, then yeah, it's probably going to hit an apartment building if you launch enough of them.
Break, break, break. Time for a 5-minute gear check, boys. This would be a good time for you to like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and we would really appreciate it. Don't forget that we want to interview veterans, so reach out to us if you want to have your service documented. Let other veterans know too. You guys can use the comment section, our socials, or the podcast email. Find us and follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. And go buy yourself a copy of War Business, The Hired Guns of Helmand Province. You can buy that on Amazon or through the Wargate store. If reading isn't your forte, then we've got you covered with the audiobook. Thank you for listening to this episode of the War Business Podcast, and we appreciate all of your support. Let's get you back to the episode.
Well, let's talk about the Cobras here. Cobras provide a cast for your close air support while you're doing this or doing these aerial interdictions. That couldn't be any cooler, to be honest with you. Cobras are just sexy. Man,
The
I don't know
whole
what it is. They're
freaking
tiny,
thing.
but super
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah. I mean, pilots just walk out and get in this, jump into the Cobra. And I mean, you could see like their whole torso and then and then they get up and they go and they just fuck anything up that needs to be messed up. I mean, they're freaking wild. Fast. Yeah. They're just super cool. I mean, I was always like a nerd about Clark would know what this is called, but the gun that orients with their, helmet vision.
For the Apaches, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, but they're real cool. And then just, I mean, they were having them around. It was really, really nice. And then there's a time or two where I was just all by myself, surrounded by Afghans, and Cobras came in, and they can come in so freaking low. And just I could have made eye contact and told you what color the pilot's eyes were if he didn't have a visor on. It's just they're just fucking cool.
Yeah, they are. And then having two, it's like angels on your shoulders. It's like if you really want to fuck around, you are all going to die.
Yeah. So when I was getting the getting the training for the tracking devices and all that equipment, this guy with a fake name came out to Dwyer to teach Daiba and I about the tracking devices and what we're going to do with them. And he's telling us about his history with them and operations like that. And so one of the stories he had told us was about him medevacing somebody with a Cobra, strapping them to the bottom of a Cobra.
Good word.
That feels like a fucking scary way to be medevaced.
I don't know. They don't go down though. You don't really hear like
I guess
a
it's
Cobra
less.
crashes or anything. The Venoms are cool too. Did you ever have any of the Venoms provide close air support?
Yeah, that's
No.
the Vipers, dude.
Oh, is it the Vipers?
The UH-1Y, the Yankee Hueys are Venoms, and
Okay.
the AH-1Z, the Zulu Cobras are Vipers. That's a new. It's not new. It's it's a fucking decade old now, but it's sort of them officially making the Cobra Huey strike team. Like they're fencing it in for the Marine Corps. So it's a Venom Viper team is more of an integrated unit than on the official doctrine than it was before, is my understanding of it. But they are tight. They got a little better engine, a lot better engine. Each of them got 4 blades on those rotors instead of 2. It kind of takes away like the AH-1 whatever the predecessor to the Viper was that had the two rotors. It was like chop, 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 chop when it comes in. And it's like, this is like the intro to a fucking Metallica song, dude. When this helicopter comes in and you can hear it, you're like, oh, hell yeah, dude. The mosh pit's about to open up. Let's go. And now they just make like a buzz, like a hateful hornet's nest type of sound when they come in, which is still tight.
They
But
sound neat.
they got a titanium tub for the cockpit, like a A10 would have. They got the titanium tub for the cockpit to keep ground fire from, I don't know, blowing people's dicks off or whatever. Whatever, I don't know, keeps bullets out of the pilot.
Yeah, never got to ride in any of the Hueys that the Marine Corps had. Always wanted to, but I don't know who gets to ride in them. Some troops get to sit in the back. Wasn't me ever. Had to ride on the friggin' 46. It's like the like the short bus. I don't know. Like you don't want to.
It's the green
Yeah.
line. The Huey is the honcho that has a lead foot. And the 46 is the green line, and the driver's like, I don't know, man. Sit the fuck down.
Yep. Never got to ride on any of the Navy's little Blackhawks either, but I heard that was a pretty smooth ride. We did some training with those guys. What's the difference between the Navy's Black Hawk and the Army's Black Hawk? Or what is it called? You know what I'm talking
Did you say Black Hawk or Black Hawk?
Black Hawk. No, Black Hawk.
I don't.
You need to get your ears clean.
Hey, man.
Get your mind out
I'm
of the
still
gutter.
still all congested from
Been on
this
Pornhub too
turbo
much here
cold,
lately.
man. No, it's a one is a UH-60 and one is an MH-60. I think outside of nomenclature, it probably just has to do with like in-flight refueling or some shit. I rode in a National Guard Black Hawk to survey tornado damage in a previous career. And I thought, riding in a British CH-46 in Afghanistan, I thought these motherfuckers are trying to tear this vehicle up. But riding in the National Guard Black Hawk, I was like, these dudes must have fucking stole this because they are flying the piss out of it. And I was riding in it with the fucking sitting member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and then pilots were whipping it, dude. I was like, damn, y'all need to y'all need to relax. Y'all are doing too much. We don't got to be flying no combat shit when we're surveying a tornado track. Shit. There, Mr. Storm Chaser.
Osprey pilots are the worst, though. They fly that shit like they stole it.
It's the mechanics of an Osprey's flight is you can't make that not terrifying. Whenever the rotors tilt, like just through physics, some shit happens, and the guys in the back, the Gibbs, can feel it. The Gibbs in the fucking crew compartment or the whatever gotta you know that the shit is no longer moving vertically, and that transition takes, you gotta have like an altitude. It sheds some
Oh,
fucking
God. Yeah.
AGL.
Just remember being in an Osprey, and then I could look out the window across from me, and I could see the ocean like we were flat, and I just like closed my eyes. I'm like, focusing on breathing, like hard pass.
We gotta
Uh,
we gotta take a quick second when we talk about the Osprey, because I want to stir some drama. I want to say the Osprey is a helicopter. The Osprey is a helicopter. And if you are in a flight crew or a maintenance position for Ospreys in the military and you call it an airplane, you are wrong, regardless of what your senior Lance Corporal told you. It is a fucking helicopter.
Thank you for that PSA. I agree. Serious rotor wash on those bad boys, though. Osprey's got some gnarly rotor wash. And then the whatchamacallit, the propellers
The
glow in the
rotor.
dark.
It's a
Rotors.
rotor.
Yeah, they glow in the dark at night or whatever. I don't know if they still do that in Afghanistan. I hope not. But
It's,
all the
it's a
ones.
static electricity thing.
So in Afghanistan, the Ospreys, you just see like the
It's
the elect.
anywhere there's matter in the air for them to electrify. What charge? It's a static charge in the particles of shit in the air around the rotor. That's why it's a helicopter, by the way, is because it has fucking rotors. It's in the name, tilt rotor. A helicopter has rotors. I got a cousin that works on Ospreys, and every time he calls it a plane, I want to NJP him.
Well, we did get a little bit sidetracked there. Sorry. Interesting chapter. A lot of cool stuff going on in there. Anything over chapter 8 you want to talk about, Matt, that maybe we didn't cover that you wanted to elaborate on?
No, it was just interdiction force was just something that the regimental commander just kind of thought up and begged, borrowed, and stole some 53s, some Cobras, and a couple of dudes to install tracking devices and stuff. So it was just it was all a collateral duty. I was still the regimental targeting chief, so had a day job and then just did this whenever we had to do it. But yeah, it was awesome for sure.
Can we hit him with an is it true question mid-episode? Is that possible?
I think we
Negative.
should.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, Maynard. Hit him with give him a fucking zesty one, dude.
How are you going to ask that and then not have you want me to do the fucking
You're the fucking
question?
is it true guru, dude. I don't know. I just think it'd be good.
The last one bit him right in the ass. Yes.
Is it true that you fucking kissed the homies goodnight? Don't answer that. That one was a warm
Well,
up. That's
we
not the
could
real
do it for
question.
the next chapter, which I was, and this will be a good segue into the next chapter. But is it true you just weren't man enough to dip grizzly wintergreen? That's why you smoked cigars in Afghanistan, or
Whoa, whoa, shit, yeah.
I dipped grizzly wintergreen in Afghanistan.
Dude, this
Uh,
this boy this boy would be dipping Grizz, dude, and he had the loudest spits when he would speak. Big, loud city slicker spits, dude.
yeah.
you don't
I
talk about you dipping though in the book. You talk about smoking cigars. You're smoking a cigar now. I didn't know if you were on the grizz or not. I know you're not scared to get a pinch of grizz. We've talked about this many times. I just didn't know, if it was like against your religion or something like that to not do grizz. Or I mean, was like, what was your like go-to nicotine source? Was it the
it would have
cigars?
no, it would have been. I only ever. I think maybe my first cigar ever was in Afghanistan. Like a lieutenant had given us a couple, given us some, and then we started ordering them from I don't know where. But yeah, so Grizzly Wintergreen.
You could get them at the PX on the bigger camps. Like they had them at the PX on Leatherneck. It's dog shit cigars, though.
S- my first deployment is where it was this lieutenant had given us the acid
Oh, yeah.
cigars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's kind of, whatever, but they definitely didn't sell those at the PX on Dwyer or Leatherneck, I don't think. Um, yeah, I think I only smoked two cigarettes on deployment. The rest would have just been a handful of cigars and then dip, or I ate a lot of just Red Man
Dude, it tastes like that stuff tastes like raisins.
raisins. Yeah,
It's
I like
good.
a
It's
lot
beech
good
of Red
for
nut.
you.
Man.
Beech nuts, my go-to chew. I don't even know if they still make beech nut.
Yeah, they don't call Red Man anymore, though. They went the way of the red skins. They got a fucking it's like American chewing tobacco or something now. It's fucking cucked.
When I was on LF Karat, or just called Karat now apparently, but we called it LF Karat in 2013, I went with 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and they had gotten sponsored by Redman.
That's
And so
sick.
it was sick. So like all their skivvy shirts had like Redman on the back. And
Oh,
throughout
fuck.
the whole thing, Redman would send the ship cans like chew, which I never was a big chewer, but then they made the dip back then, like the Redman dip.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so they would send care packages to the whole unit and you could score like some cans of Redman Wintergreen. I was like, hell yeah, this is pretty cool. I don't know which Lance Corporal was like, I have a great idea. And they're like, Dear Red Man, like, will you please sponsor us? It was cool. They got sponsored by Red Man. You talk about I think it was your lieutenant. It was a big time Red Man chewer, right? Or was it your
Yeah,
captain?
he's a lieutenant at the time, fella from Appalachia.
Small world.
Say it ain't, say it ain't so.
Yeah, this
Um,
guy, I mean, he was prior enlisted, then he was a scout sniper platoon commander, and then after that, he went and became a recon officer, and then after that, went into MARSOC.
damn, fancy pants. And by the way, for the listener, this is chapter 9. The title of chapter 9 is RCT 1 S2. And so Matt talks about And one of the parts he talks about is Lieutenant dipping a lot of, or chewing a lot of red, man. That's respectable. I always thought more highly of Marines that chewed or dipped versus smoking, because I always thought the smoke pit Marines were skating, because they'd be just standing there smoking, and
Of
all the
course.
dippers would be working.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Are you kidding me?
That's why you smoked. I know
I
that's
was
why you smoke. You're getting
on
out
the
of work.
cigarettes, dude. I smoked because I think Marlboro Reds taste good. Uh, it is with great regret that I'm here to inform you guys and the fucking listener that I no longer smoke because burn pits in Afghanistan fucked my throat up more than Marlboro Reds could, which is like saying a lot. But I always did. Oh man, I would never not think of like if I go to the casino and I get a little bit, if I lose more money to the bar than I do the fucking craps table, might go over there and buy me a pack of Marlboro Reds at the casino and then bring them back to the house.
Now you smoke signals.
Yeah, fucking $20 a carton signals. No, that's bayonet bill. Bayonet bills on that fixed income. That boy had
Where
them signals, boy. It ain't good for you.
so in your S2 shop, were most people dipping and chewing, or were they smokers?
Dip. I think there were two smokers.
Pretty much every Marine is either one side of the house or the other. Either you're dipping or you're smoking.
I
Yeah.
think it's changed. I think it's changed in the last 10 years because
Well,
of
you can't buy
vapes.
tobacco till you're 21 now.
That's fucking
Imagine
true.
that. Like, what do
That
you?
would have sucked. It's also they stopped fixing the price too, because like in 2009, you get the Okinawa and a pack of cigarettes out in town is whatever, fucking X amount. But at the PX on base, it's like $4.50 for a pack of Marlboro Reds, and it was like $4.50 for a can of Grizzly Wintergreen. But the AFEs or whoever is in charge of that stopped fixing the price, and so it probably is prohibitively expensive now. I don't know. I'll be on a
Um,
base. I'll hopefully be on a base this month and then again next month. So, um, I'll do some fucking recon at the PX.
yeah, let me know. But it kind of makes sense, and this goes along with my theory. So, good Marines are dippers. Um, and basically, your S2 shop is full of shit hot Marines. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but the way you frame it in the chapter is basically this is the all-star team. Everybody is a rock star, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a reflection of our leadership, our enlisted leadership for sure, some of the lieutenants, but as in the regimental headquarters company, highest overall rifle score, highest PFT average PFT score, highest CFT average, and then nobody getting DUIs or all that kind of stuff like that you'd get from like your standard comm section or supply section, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just really, really good dudes. So we had, I think, 12 enlisted Marines that went to Afghanistan in the S2. When we got there, four of them had to go to the Base Defense Operations Center permanently for the entire deployment. So it leaves eight enlisted Marines, one of which is the intelligence chief. So there's really seven. And then four of those Marines went to down to the battalions. So it was just a small crew for um, the deployment. It was always just, you know, small crew for us. It was just fucking difficult, no time off. Like, the calm guys would be getting weekends off and shit like that, or I'd go take some piece of gear into the comm section and they're playing Xbox on their projected wall screen and you can't get this equipment back for like a week. We're so backlogged. Whatever. And then,
Biblically
just
accurate comm shop, dude.
yeah, it's just standard comm guys.
I'm fucking busy, man. Hold on, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you can't make that
That's
up.
hilarious.
I was thinking though, like as you were talking about the guys that you're with, pretty much your group of guys are just like shit hot. I was just thinking like how rare that is to have like a little section or for me, I think of it in like platoons. Like every once in a while, there is like you get into a platoon and everybody's just like first teamers. But then you go to some platoons, you got like second teamers, like the C squad, some guys that shouldn't have even made the team.
Dude, you got some, they ain't even JV. You got some fucking beer leaguers in the platoon, and it's like, oh God.
Yeah, it's miserable. But I think, it's cool for you that you got to go with such a good group of guys. It just feels good when you're surrounded by other good people. Like everybody's building each other up. Like when the majority is shit hot, good Marines, feels like everybody's like clicking and pushing each other to do better. It just feels good when you're part of that versus you're in like a platoon with just a bunch of turds and then how
It also
miserable that
takes
is.
It also takes like a common goal though, because like for example, when me and you were at Seventh, Maynard, like we had some solid fucking NCOs in the platoon. But the thing was, what was even our mission? Like how as an NCO do you explain to your non-rates like this is what we're training to when you're not training? You're training for Captain Dildo's fucking 48-hour awake ops when you're like smashing your thumb with a hammer building some shit that nobody's ever going to use. And so it's like
Yep.
it has to be a lot of things that come into play all at the same time and quality Marines to play in those rules for it to work like that. And like I don't know, it's just a thought that I have.
It's cool to be with a bunch of dudes that are good to go. The best part about them, I guess, being a part of the team was how shitty the deployment got and how, much work we were doing. You could grind through it a little bit more, just knowing that nobody here is not, everybody's pulling their weight. Everybody is being all they can be. So that, I mean, that helps out too. I had more, I don't know, what do you want, shortcomings than I want to admit or whatever, but I tried hard and same with everybody else.
That's all you really asked for.
Yeah.
There's folks trying their best. Um, so I don't know if this is where this comes from, but you mentioned like you're tracking the Taliban across the region, presumably like a collaborative effort to keep track of the Taliban. And then you mentioned, I don't know if I'm getting this right, you're like, we're conducting our war business. Is that where the title of the book comes from?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah. That
Okay.
and an homage to uh, Smedley Butler's book. Do you know what that is?
I don't read books. I listen to them occasionally. If my bud made a book, I might listen to it a couple of
Do
times so
you
I don't
do
sound like
you
an
do you
idiot
know
in
who
this
Smedley
episode.
Butler is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
13 General Orders.
All right. Yeah, no, an homage to him in his book about war is a racket.
There was a third source. There was a third inspiration, inspo for the name.
Send it.
We talked about the oldest profession whenever we were shopping names, Matt and I. We were workshopping shit. The oldest profession is generally agreed to be hooking, prostitution, whoring. But I think it stands to reason that probably a older profession is warrior, is fucking warfighter. How do you have a couple gold shekels in or silver shekels in your pocket to pay the hooker, the nice lady of the night, if you don't have you're not if you're a shepherd a billion years ago, you're not getting fucking paid. You're taking your sheep and like trading them for other sheep or I don't know whatever shepherds do with their sheep. I don't fucking care. But if you are part of a standing army, then you have walking around money and you can't peddle pussy without getting paid for it as a prostitute. So you got to have working customers that you're not trading a sheep for some friggin' smush or whatever, what have you. Trying to keep this Disney. So I think, that was kind of the third inspiration for war business it has been a business forever. Like Smedley. I mean, Smedley Butler probably had maybe a more eloquent version of this conversation when he was workshopping his name around for war as a racket. Like it's been a racket forever. Any racket is a business. Not all businesses are rackets, but
Yeah.
that's where his Proton mail address comes from. I'm not gonna
Sheep
say, I'm not
herding
gonna
and
dox
hookers.
I'm not gonna dox his Proton mail address, but you've seen it, Maynard.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where it came from. Those
Start
areas.
using your email when it's like put your name, like fill out this information and put it in the box to like win this vehicle that nobody ever wins, and then you just get a million spam emails.
To win a fucking Jeep Grand Cherokee at the mall.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Put Matt's email on that.
Does it come with rubber
Um,
duckies on the dash?
they all have a hidden Easter egg apparently. But you talk in this chapter a little bit about Marines that did really good things and should have gotten awards and then didn't. I feel like that is somewhat of a common theme in the Marine Corps. Awards are pretty rare. Um, you both got NAMs, correct? So Matt, you got a NAM with a V,
Nope. Just a name.
just a NAM for doing 500 aerial interdiction. Is that what you got your name for? What'd you get your name for?
They should
No,
have gave you a fucking air medal, dude. They should have gave you a NAM,
I didn't get
whatever.
an award for the aerial interdiction force.
What
You got a
are
National Defense Service Medal, and that's enough.
do you want to say what you got your name for then?
I had gotten it earlier in the deployment for shit I did as the targeting regimental targeting chief.
Yeah, and you talk about that too in the chapter. What were those duties? What like did that entail?
Targeting chief?
Yeah, you were the regimental targeting chief, correct?
Yep. So picking targets, and within our AO. So you have what we would refer to as red cell, white cell. White cell is pretty simple. It's, hey, these are the locals that we need to go bribe and shake hands and stuff like that. We get them on your side, and you know, build. We'll win the war. We'll
Hearts
win
and
their hearts
minds.
and minds. So that's white cell targeting. On the other side is red cell, so that's targeting Taliban, Taliban commanders, and what that entails is going through intelligence reporting, tracking everything that comes out of the battlefield, and just starting to paint a picture of who this guy is, where he lives, where does he bed down, what's his pattern of life, things like that. So you can give a coherent disposition of this guy and his team. Is he one dude and three fighters, or does he have 12, or do they specialize in um, if they're IED cell, are they the type that use like the directionally focused charges, or are they just using oil jugs and crude shit like that? So that type of stuff. So when, let's say, an IED goes off at certain grid, it's like, okay, a couple of guys operate in this area. It's like, well, this IED had XYZ component in it. It's like, okay, that is this guy. This guy always uses these components for his IEDs. So, you could start attributing it to him, build out his pattern of life, things like that. So that's targeting. So being the regimental targeting, we had 4 battalions operating in our battle space. So tracking the shit for all 4 battalions.
How big is the battle space?
I mean, it was southern Helmand province. I don't know, a
Gotcha.
couple thousand square miles. So
Damn.
within that, we had Marja, Nadali, Treknawa, Nawa, Gormsur, and a little bit below Gormsur, which like the Reg, Conishin area.
Okay. So just like, well, so what would that be? Pretty much like the far southwest end of like the Helmand River, like as the Helmand River flows like towards, I guess, more towards Iran. Like you're just
Correct. Yeah, so it would be, I don't know, I guess you could say halfway and down. So everything from Marja down.
got it.
And then there was another regiment that had the northern part of Helmand province.
And the majority of everything is just occurring around the Helmand River, right? Or is there any stuff going on like in the middle of the desert, north or south?
That was all the aerial interdiction stuff. So that would have been the smuggling route. So a bunch of shit was going on out there, but there was no um, Marines or NATO presence out there. So you're not gonna report anything going on. But so you have all the Taliban could just walk freely out there, and it didn't matter because there's no forces out there, no Marines, so there's not going to be any like ISR prep assets no intelligence assets dedicated to, watching these compounds outside of the battalion's AOs, which were right along the Helmand River. So when we started doing our interdictions, it was everywhere else but the battalion's AOs.
Were there at least like drones that would keep
Nope.
Overwatch in these areas?
Nope.
Air Force really missed out on that opportunity. This might be an interesting question, but how heavy were the backpacks full of cash?
What
Or was
cash?
that only shiny rinks that got to tote those
Yeah,
around?
so I mean I never saw that cash. The sh I know another Intel guy that what got attached to a civil affairs group, and that was his job, was he had fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars on him at a time to go bribe people. But for me, I never carried cash. And then when my second deployment, Clark and I were up in Kajaki, our company commander had cash, but it wasn't US dollars. It was the local Afghan currency, like whatever their monopoly money is, and that was kind of like to stimulate the local economy,
It's
kind of help things
Afghanis, the
there,
Afghan
or
Afghanis. They don't like
yeah,
being called Afghanis because that's their stupid currency.
that's their currency. Yeah, so if, somebody hey, we use that cash on the company level for restitution. Like, hey, I know you guys talked about using volcano charges to blow up walls, but all you have to do is put Lulov in a 7 ton and he'll drive right through Afghan compound walls any day of the week. So, like, if we knock down part of their compound or their wall by accident, we just give them like $10 and say, and they'd go away. We had some guys, we're shooting pin flares. What do you call that? Like, for not force deterrence. What's the stupid name for it? Escalation of force.
Yeah, EOF.
Dude shooting pin flares and in a desert, so shit's getting lit on fire, and then those Afghans would come and, okay, you burned all my stuff down, all my crops, and give them money. But I never carried cash as far as on my first deployment.
I part of that we had was supposed to go to buying shit from the locals. It
Yeah,
was supposed to be some hearts and minds shit. Like we'll buy your
stimulate the local economy. Yeah.
yeah, like we'll stim whatever. And I don't know all the shit that our weird little fucking chai boy ever brought us. I paid for with money, like my money,
Yeah.
like
Anything I ever bought was with US currency.
from
Maybe
that weird little
maybe Captain
kid.
Polidor was buying like burned CDs with Afghan
It was,
dollars or
remember
something.
they had they had like the Haji shop or whatever on Leatherneck. I'm sorry, dude. That's probably the wrong nomen. That's probably a fucking problematic nomenclature. But they had DVDs of every season of Cops. They had like you could buy a DVD box set of every season of Cops. If you weren't getting enough wanton violence in your Afghanistan deployment, you could
Yeah.
watch some fucking cop from Detroit in 1990 like beat the shit out of some crackhead on your
Yeah.
fucking DVD player.
That is such a common trend, though. Like in every third world country that I ever went to, you can get DVDs of any movie, like brand new movies that just released in the States. But like sometimes the video camera would like fall over and they'd have to
Yeah.
like get it back up in the movie theater. And then that would be like what is released in these third world countries. And so we'd watch that stuff too, or be able
That
to
is
buy those
that's
DVDs.
part of that contraband stuff I was telling you about, like Afghanistan at least being a corridor for smuggling. I don't know, I guess you could call it goods like that, that we would run into all the time in the jingle trucks out there doing, hitting vehicles, and they'd have shit like that.
Just like it's in English, it's Transformers 2, but it has Thai subtitles and you can hear people speaking Thai in the fucking background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's filmed in 480p.
Were you ever like searching a truck and you're like, oh shit, it stomped the yard too. And then you like put that in your cargo pocket. And you're like, we're taking that back with us.
Bad boy's coming home with me.
I just found a walk to remember. I'm gonna go give this to Clark. I know he'll love it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Fucking episodes of radio for the comm guy.
Moving on here, and this is where we'll wrap it up for this episode. Unless there's anything you want to talk about in chapter 9.
No, just
All right.
best, best, best intel shop that exists ever existed.
Yeah,
Great
it sounded
dudes.
like it. You hype those guys up a lot. They all seem like cool dudes for sure. Good, sharp Marines. So let's go into chapter 10. The title of that chapter is Back in the States. Starts out with a quote from William Tecumseh Sherman. My Confederate ancestors don't approve, but that's neither here or there. So what is it with the quotes? Every chapter gets a quote where you're trying to find, or what? So what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, you're on the right road there. It's, a little bit of something to that goes with the chapter.
No, I thought it was cool. Cool little mix in there.
Yeah, it's a good
Something
touch.
I thought it was like something I was looking forward to. Each chapter was what the quote was. And I was like, this William Tecumseh Sherman one. I was like, whoa, man, he burned my family's farm down and salted the crops. You talk about, you get home, well, you come back to the States and you go into Garrison Marine Corps, which is pretty tough. And I saw this throughout my time in the Marine Corps. Like those Afghan camis that you wore, they don't fly anymore. It don't matter what you did. Like your camis cannot be sun faded. I don't know if that came from General Amos himself, but that seemed to be a popular thing where if you had those camis, they have to go.
It was generally something you would only wear in the field back on training exercises, and you could kind of get away with it. Like, hey, I'm not going to use my good shit out here when we're, in 29 Palms for 2 weeks. Like, you can get away with it like that, but or like the turds that were popped for coke a couple of times, and they're working at like what camp beautification platoon or whatever. Like, they'd wear them, but yeah, that's it didn't really fly.
You get back into the States. I interpret it like you were generally just disappointed with being back. It seemed, and you mentioned it a little bit in the chapter, like life doesn't have as much of a purpose at that point. Um, you're just back stateside, and it seems like you're missing something when you're there, almost like you're missing Afghanistan. I think you mentioned that in the chapter as well, that it's not where you want to be necessarily.
Yeah, so we left Afghanistan on my 21st birthday. I wanted to come home at that point. Like I was like ready to go home. We left, so it was great. Like, hey, I can drink now. This is gonna be awesome. So I don't know, the first month, 2 months, pretty cool. Pretty cool to be home. And then after that, yeah, Garrison Marine Corps, I just couldn't stand it. A few months prior, I'm off of my own program doing arguably the coolest shit ever. And whatever. And then, now it's getting yelled at for field day or, hey, so and so's coming to the company office. We need 4 Marines to go buff the floor. Like, what is life now? This is stupid. And a unit that comes back from deployment or MU or whatever, generally there's going to be a shuffling of personnel. So that unit's in limbo. Maybe the battalion commander changes or sergeant major, but and then each section, each unit, people are getting out. You got new boots joining. So it's just a lot of busy work, a lot of just do this and whatever. So I couldn't stand it. I didn't like that, and then I just couldn't shake Afghanistan. I wanted to go back. There's not life didn't have meaning anymore compared to that. I don't know, like I broke my thrill level or it got stuck on max and everything else sucked.
Yeah, the Marine Corps busy work is insane. You never just get a day to, they're like, you are always doing something. They will invent something for you to do. For engineers, it was always like inventory, the kits or whatever. Or I mean, it's just there has to be something to do. You don't just get to sit around, and it gets a bit ridiculous. Cleaning everything all the time for sure. But like, but
Yeah, go
Garrison,
paint
yeah.
the curbs, go paint rocks, go paint the curbs, go whatever. It's just and it's and they tell you you're getting paid by the government. You can't do nothing. We're not going to just let you go get off
It's such a
Friday.
bullshit line. That's like the civilian employees for the government spend so much time doing exactly jack shit. Had a coworker that spent most of his time watching fucking Steve McQueen movies with his door closed in his office. He's making what a fucking gun he makes, and he's like 22, you know? Like, fuck, dude. Come on.
Yeah, a lot of busy work sucks.
Yep. And then he mentioned a little bit about like the civilian side too, is like nobody back home had even realized like a war is even going on, or it just seemed like you mentioned it basically like the civilians seemed oblivious to any of that.
Yeah, that I would say that was 100% true. I mean, the American people could give a shit whether or not the war was winning or losing, or we were winning or losing, how it was going. And then, even around Obama's second election, it was he was still a little bit worried, like, hey, we need to wrap this up, whatever. The American people still kind of wanted some closure. And then after that, it was just, I guess the war's still going on. So coming back and nobody cared. And I obviously am, my mind is fucked and halfway in Afghanistan. So I'm like, you don't care about people getting blown up or this and that, and like nobody gives a shit. And yeah, I didn't like it. And I mean, I would say that's indicative of the fact that the war wasn't a war of necessity. If it wasn't impacting the lives of the average American person in any way, then why were we there?
Yeah, just totally different times. It's wild. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan, same amount of time in Iraq. Felt like nobody, like American civilians weren't up in arms, but I mean, we go to Caracas for 30 minutes, and my God, it seems like the entire American population is up in arms about that. And just didn't really seem like folks cared. Maybe it just went on so long that people just stopped paying attention. I'm not sure what it was. Um,
Yeah, I think that's part of what it was. It went on, but there was also, it was purposefully obfuscated by the media, by the government. I mean, I don't know how many days, only a couple of days or a couple of weeks in Afghanistan, and you find out like every single Afghan male here rapes little kids for recreation, and they trade little boys, like, 8 years old. It's called bazi. That's their practice. So and then you have the Afghan army being just shitty and high all the time and not wanting to fight, and also killing Afghans because, the army unit is of a different tribe than the region that they're assigned to, and it's just calamity. So the American people could not be told what was going on there and how fucked the situation was. I guess I don't blame them for paying attention to any other thing, but the way I was taking it at the time was dudes are getting legs blown off or dying to, clear a bazaar. This patrol base is named after that Marine that just died a horrific death, and, nobody cares. Nobody cared. So yeah, that bugged me. So I was like, all right, I don't fit in with these people. I need to go back.
I'm going to tell you my experience, and then I want to know if it was similar for you. I had spent it was 22 months before I got to step foot in Alaska, which was beautiful. I mean, that was one of the best things I ever got to do in the Marine Corps, and it was totally because the Air Force messed that whole thing up. But I got to go to Alaska for a few days. Um, but I was gone away from home for so long. In my mind, I had hyped it up. And like when I was in Okinawa and everywhere else, I went all those other countries, like I just could not wait to get back in the States. Like I missed Taco Bell. I missed all these things. And I was like, in my mind, it was the best thing ever. Like being like I couldn't wait to get back home in Tennessee. That was the most beautiful place in the world. And then I had gotten back and I just like first thing I noticed is like there's litter everywhere. It like you couldn't drive 10 yards without seeing a piece of trash on the side of the road. Then you go to Taco Bell and then like the employees could care, like they don't care less. Like they mess up your order. They don't care. Like you ask for the sauce, like they don't put the sauce in. Like all these things were compounding into like this big giant disappointment for me when I finally got back to the States or back home pretty much. after all that time. Did you experience like a similar disappointment? Like you get back and it just wasn't the same as you remembered it?
For sure. There's the old saying that no man crosses the same river twice. The river's different, so is the man. So I had hyped up America and my hometown, and I don't know, a week or two. It was cool. And then and then it was like, well, everyone else has moved on with life without me. The whole, I don't know, pattern of life of the city and everything is moved on without me being part of it. So it's, I'm different. I'm not, um, so yeah, that luster kind of wears off. So it's like, I guess I overhyped this a little bit, to say the least.
Man, that life goes on part is crazy. Like you're out of the loop, out of your friend group that you grew up with for just a few months, even from the time you go to boot camp and come back. Like things are totally different. Like folks move on without you, and then it's just never really feels the same. What about you, Brennan? Did you feel the same?
He came back and his mom said, it's okay if you still, I don't care what port you find.
Yeah, I came back and there was a care
That never
package of
changed.
fucking adult diapers, and I was like, "What is this? Are you still on this?" No, man, it was, I don't know, Oklahoma, like, I don't know. I was like a man without a country anyways. So I was like a foreigner in Tulsa. I didn't move up there until I was in like sixth grade. And it was a super small school that I went to. And so I never felt like I was really one of them anyways. In Western Oklahoma, they're like, "You're a city boy, you're from up in Tulsa." I'm like, "I go to a fucking smaller school than you." Like, what? So, anyway, so they like the people I knew in Western Oklahoma kind of made me feel like I wasn't one of them really either. And so it wasn't I didn't I guess notice it as much because I wasn't tethered to a hometown like that. That's why even now people are like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, fucking kind of the barracks. As fucking depressing as that is to say, that this is the first place I felt like I was at home. And so that was what I made of it. That's why I mean, both of you have some insight. Matt more, but I mean that's why like my house when I lived in base housing, that's why my house was like the central hub for the lads, is because I was like, this isn't a temporary. This is my actual fucking home. You guys come over and we do like shit you do at home, not a lot of people lived in housing, treated it like it was a temporary thing for them, but I never psychologically, it was never that for me. It was the first place I ever really felt like I was at home. It felt like the Marines around me were my family. So I was never like super keen on going on leave anyways, because it's for the same reasons you guys are talking about. Nobody back home gives a fuck. They're all doing stuff. Like you can sit in white space training for 6 months at your stupid unit, seventh engineer stupid unit, and daydream about what it's going to be like when you go home and meet and hang out with your boys and stuff. But like they're at work digging a fucking ditch or whatever they do. Then the last thing they're thinking about is where their dumbass friend that joined the Marine Corps and is graduated is and when that guy's coming home. It's fucking, I didn't ever really have that sort of nostalgic feeling for home. It's like more excited to get back on the adventure train. The Marine Corps was a pretty good adventure train, all things considered.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Marine
I
Corps
hope that
didn't feel
didn't
like it.
sound, I hope
It was
that
a
didn't
little
sound too
depressing.
stupid or depressing. I mean, I
Splash of
don't,
depressing, but I get it. I think we all get it. If you were in the military, I think
yeah.
you get it. I don't know. I just had hyped up the States so much whenever I was in Okinawa. I just was like, I hate this place. Like, this is stupid. They drive tiny cars. They eat sweet potato ice cream. What is this? This is stupid. And I go back to the United States and I'm like, oh man, like we got some problems at home. And everybody was like fat and everybody's doing hardcore. Well, my friend group was doing like hardcore drugs. Like I'm in the Marine Corps for 2 years. I come back, like people are on meth, running like my best friend at Walmart, and he's so high on meth. He's like going through the clothing rack, like touching every article of clothes. He's like, "Hey man, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God, like what?" I didn't even want to go back, and I didn't go back on leave again. I went one time, I think, because my grandpa, we thought he was gonna die like one of the first few times, like we thought he was going to die. Like he had a lot of cancer. He got struck by lightning one time. He had a lot going on, but I went back for leave one time, and then I just didn't go back. So then I got out of the Marine Corps with 60 days of leave. I don't think they let you
He
take
got
that much anymore.
he
So,
got
but
struck by fucking lightning.
yeah, talking to my mom on the telephone during a thunderstorm, he was leaned up on a pillar outside, this little metal pillar that held up like the overhang on his porch, and he was talking to my mom, and then got hit by lightning. He had a knee replacement, like metal in his knee, and it, like superheated that metal, and um, like burned up his knee from the inside, and then it messed up his heart.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. He might as well got hit by a car.
Oh yeah, man.
Trying
Well,
so hard not to laugh at that whole story.
no,
I'm
it's
sorry,
he
man.
would
That's
want you to.
freaking wild.
That ain't even the wildest shit. He got impaled on hedge clippers one time in his leg, trying to put his lawnmower up on the trailer, and it tipped over. And then my mom had to like pack his wound with gauze all the time. He had been through the ringer though. This guy, I mean, he was like my best friend in the Marine Corps. I called him like almost every single day back in the States to like talk football, and me and my grandpa were really close. But he had gone through it all. But then I was lucky because when they said I was in 29 Palms and we were just wrapping it up, and my mom's like, "You need to come home. We think your grandpa's not going to make it." And he had had cancer for a while. And then I was like, okay, well, now that is the time to do it because I can pay $600 to go home versus go back to Okinawa and then spend $3,000 on a plane ticket to come home. Another reason why you just don't go and leave very much
Did
in
they
Okinawa.
Red Cross you for that? How'd that work out?
No, it was like the end of training, and then oh, this could get people in trouble. I'm going to tell this story. Um, so I talked to my mom like at the E Club. What is it? It's not the E Club. What's it on Camp Wilson? I think you can get a beer there. Um,
What is that place called?
like you can get like they got the sports TVs up. They got some pool tables on it on Camp Wilson.
I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, anyway, but they had Wi-Fi. And
The
then so
Warrior? Is it the Warrior Club?
pretty sure it's the Warrior Club. But I had like just gotten a hold of my mom. We had been like training for all that time or whatever. And then I just gotten hold of her and she's like, I think your grandpa's gonna die, and it's probably a good time to come back home. And I had a really cool lieutenant, and I was like, hey sir, this is going on. I was like, this would be the best time for me to come home because it's gonna be cheaper. I'm already in the States. And he was like, no problem. And I had a staff sergeant who was missing the whole time throughout 29 Palms. Wasn't sure what he was doing. He was always going back to main side. And he is like, I won't say his name, but he's like, Staff Sergeant so and so take you to main side so you can use a computer and request leave. And so I finally catch him and I was like, hey, Staff Sergeant, I need you to take me to main side so I can use a computer and request leave. And he's like, yeah, no problem, Devil Dog. I'll take you back. So he takes me to a barracks room of a Lance Corporal that he is having an affair on with his wife.
Ugh.
Okay. So that is why he was missing the entire time from ITX, nowhere to be seen. He had been going back every day to this Lance Corporal's barracks room, and having an affair on his wife with a girl that he had known for a long time. And that's all I'll say about that. That's already bad enough, but the details are even worse the more you know about this story.
It was his
And
little sister.
And it's super awkward. So like he's like, "Come on in, man, it's fine." And I'm like, "Okay." Like I thought he was gonna take me to the base library or something, like use a computer. No, we go to this barracks room and we go in there and he's all like cuddled up on the bed with her, and I'm like using her personal laptop to sign in on like MOL or whatever. And then I requested leave that way. That was so friggin' awkward. And then when I got back to Okinawa after that, we did Thanksgiving at his house for the entire platoon and his wife and like his children, and like, but his poor wife had cooked Thanksgiving dinner for the entire platoon, and like it ate me up inside. Like I wanted to say something so bad, but I was like, this is not my place. That part, that was, man. Like submarines are just big pieces of shit, and he was
Dirty.
definitely one of. That was pretty.
Diabolical.
That was probably one of the slimiest things I had ever saw. Sorry to go off on that story, but that's how it all went down.
Hey, that's what we're here for. This is fucking
Yeah, a
story
little
time.
sidetrack, side stories. I think that's what makes it
That's nuts,
fun.
dude. What a dick bag. Was his wife like an American chick or was he married to some
Oh no, she
Filipinos?
was American, knew him like before the Marine Corps.
Ooh.
I can't say much.
Oh, I
He
know the
knows
rest of
who
the
he
story.
is,
I
though.
know the rest of the story. You told me this. You
But
probably,
yeah,
I think we talked about it when Matt was in town in like August or whatever.
okay. But I won't say too much about it, but he knows who he is, and I'm sure that eats him up at times. That it didn't work out for him in the long run. I'll tell you that.
Mm.
Like karma came back and did its thing for that. So we got sidetracked there, but anything else you want to cover for chapter 10, Matt, for back in the States?
Yeah, I just hated it. No, I really, really wanted to go back to Afghanistan, and I mean that was pretty much most of the corporals in the S2 shop. Three of us asked to go back, and I was just begging to go on. I was like, just send me on like a four-man ETT team to go, live with Afghans. I don't care anything. I want to go back. And the S2 chief just, he acknowledged that all three of us wanted to go back, and I don't know, after a few weeks or a month or something, they found out that 1-1 would be First Battalion, First Marines would be going to Afghanistan, and it came down to the one of the three of us, and I got the orders to go. So I got what I asked for.
Yeah, you did, and
Stay
probably a little bit
tuned
more than
for
that.
stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
That's half of the book.
that's where we'll pick it up on part three of the War Business book review. We'll pick it up at chapter 11, First Battalion, First Marines, when you get your opportunity to go back to Afghanistan for the second time. Any fancy outro or anything we want to do?
I think we go just a couple minutes here. Fucking best DUI story from the Marine Corps that you saw, witnessed. No.
I can't recall any DUI story except for before my first deployment, two Marines got DUIs one weekend. One Marine was a Lance Corporal, one Marine was a gunnery sergeant, and the Lance Corporal was administratively separated from the Marine Corps, and the gunnery sergeant didn't even get an NJP.
He's like, hey, Gunny, can't be doing that. Since you learned your lesson, we're recommending you for promotion to Master Sergeant.
Yeah, I think it was second or third. I think it was a multiple DUIs,
Johnson
but
Johnson got that DUI in Bravo right before we did or right on post deployment leave. He got an APC, actual physical control, because he was sleeping. He might have been running his air conditioner while he was sleeping, but he was drunk, and they got his ass in like Carlsbad or something. Then
yeah.
there was another Johnson, which is not surprising. Uh, I think his name was Johnson. In the comm shop, we got before maybe after we came back from Afghanistan. This fucking sergeant comes and he's like shit hot. All the staff NCOs in the comm platoon love this guy. The staff NCOs in the comm platoon were all either recently drill instructors or were, I'm not gonna say like wannabe drill instructors, but like really seriously in love with Marine Corps regulations. And so they were all a bunch of fucking hard asses. And we got this new sergeant, and they were like, they were like, hey, square these fucking Marines away. This new sergeant was always giving us safety briefs and yelling and inspecting for field day and hooping and hollering and shit. And then, man, one Friday, he come out and he was like, hey, Marines, don't drink and drive. Good to go. Because I'll fucking make sure on Monday you get fucking taken care of. Good to go. And we were like, oh, alrighty, Sergeant. Fucking see you Monday, bro. That boy went and got him a DUI before it even got dark that day. And
Yes.
Monday, and of course, Monday, it was dick stomping time in the platoon. Like, somebody got a fucking DUI last Friday. And we were like, who? Who could it have been? It was none of us. And they're like, you're all pieces of shit. And well, then it came out, it was the fucking asshole that gave us the safety brief to not get DUIs on Friday, gets a DUI on Friday. Like, and now we're the pieces of shit, man. Come on. It was cathartic though, because he was such a douchebag. Then he gets busted to corporal. Immediately the biggest fucking shitbag in the platoon. Like a week prior, he was the golden pony child of the platoon. A week later, he's the fucking corporal that hasn't shaved or showered in 4 days, dude.
Oh God, the
Anyway,
irony.
big
Not
DUI
DUI
stories.
related, but what rank did our first sergeant get busted down to?
I think he got busted to gunny. I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
I think if
Do
you're
we
a
just
staff
refer to
NCO,
him as Lance Corporal just cuz?
yeah, probably.
Okay.
If you're
Yeah,
a staff NCO and you don't get I think if you don't get like big time court martial, he got a NJP. He got a no shit NJP and busted down, it's just like a more difficult process for a staff NCO to lose rank over. But I don't think he was court martialed or I don't and I'm fucking positive he didn't serve any brig time. But his was just as fucking stupid.
Not DUI related, but I'll tell you this crazy story. At cab, I won't say his name, but we had this corporal, and you always put your weirdos or guys just that don't mix well with any of the platoons into like these weird sections, like the C shop or the construction shop, like out of sight, out of mind. Like nobody wants them, so you just put them like somewhere you're not really gonna have to mess with them. He was just a weird dude all the time, like just not a normal guy. Like something was off about him. And he'd been up at the C shop for like a year at that time. And out of nowhere, um, like all sorts of base police are showing up at the barracks. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And they had arrested that dude for and a
Why does that
lot of
happen? Why does
lot of
that happen in Okinawa so bad? Why is the Okinawa? It
anime.
happens in Oki, dude. Why?
yeah. Oh man. And God, like they still have to check out is the thing. Like they don't just immediately take them to the brick. They might immediately, but like they still have to return like SIF gear and everything before like they spend the rest of their life in prison. Or I imagine
We're,
they.
we're never gonna have a fucking monetized episode. Just so like we're not monetizing shit right now. We're never gonna have a fucking monetized episode.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't. You know what I mean? I mean, it was weird
No,
though.
it's
I
all
was just gonna
right.
just
Send
like,
it, buddy.
Run
my
it.
God, and I tried to be like nice to everybody, unless they really fucked with me. But like, I wasn't just deliberately an asshole to most people unless they deserved it. And like just coming out of the barracks one day, like, or I'm going in and he's like coming out. He's like got PMO behind him. He's like in his little jumpsuit, like carrying a SIF issue. And it's like we look at each other for a second. And it's like, what a fucking, it's just a weird feeling, like when some dude is, I mean, presumably going to spend the rest of his life in jail. I imagine
No, the UCMJ, dude, that's like 6 years.
I
Dude
thought
gets
it's double
6 years.
jeopardy though, is it not? Like you
Yeah,
do,
well, you have to get caught out in town though. If he didn't live out in town and get busted by JPs, I don't. If he got busted by JPs, they probably would have just remanded him to U.S. custody because of the SOFA. But like if that were to happen on Camp Pendleton or whatever, you'd have to get busted out in town, and then they would charge you out in town, and then the Marine Corps can still charge you. But if you just get charged by the Marine Corps,
I,
it's like there's like if you get a DUI out in town, a lot of times they won't imprison you. They'll just give you like a fine and shit. And it's a big fucking money thing. But then the Marine Corps will do but if you get a DUI on base, it doesn't, it's not like having a DUI on your record if you were to get it out in town. It's less, it doesn't follow you as hard.
got
But
it.
if you just get UCMJ charges, I mean, granted, you're getting a bad conduct discharge right there. That's fucking for sure. But he's not gonna spend the rest of his life in jail. Dude, in Okinawa, they had a colonel that was like red-handed and he got off on a technicality. He was in the brig for like 18 months awaiting trial, but because it was a sting operation, his lawyer, he probably hired a civilian lawyer if he was fucking
Did
if he
any of
had a
you
brain
guys?
in his head, but he got off on a technicality and he had some shit that he had like produced, and they had to get it. It was some entrapment shit or something that was. I feel like that was like 2013 maybe.
Did y'all ever have to go through chaser training?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never had to do it, but I was thinking, did you have to actually apply it and be a chaser?
No.
I got called one time to go chase, but they like by the time I got to the battalion command post or whatever, they were like, actually, never mind. We got somebody else, I think.
Yeah, I had some buddies that had to go do that for that guy.
We had a dude
Um,
in Okie in my platoon that got caught. I got out to Okinawa in like October of '09, and there was a dude in that platoon that had gotten caught in like May for the same thing. But he didn't check out his SIF because he in the barracks. I ended up living in his room, dude. It was fucking haunted.
Shit. I
Yeah.
was gonna ask Matt about that too, like spending the night in Afghanistan, like night alone in Afghanistan. If you ever, um, hear like noises, like you're so revved up on caffeine, you're like hyper alert, like ain't papers rustle, and you're like, what the fuck?
The dudes from our H&S company that they lived up by the Kajaki Dam in a fob called Zabruj, and it had been a Russian R&R camp during the Russia-Afghanistan war. But it had been overran, and there was like bullet holes and shit in the buildings. The buildings were fucking, you could tell there had been heavy gunfights 50 years ago or whatever. But they said that shit was haunted as hell. They said that Zabruj, because they lived in former Russian R&R hooches. I mean, granted, they were like shitholes and the roofs were collapsing and shit. It wasn't no R&R thing. It had a pool, but the pool was fucked up and I think it had a jet ski, like an old jet ski floating around in it.
That was a resort, like an international resort in the 50s, built in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyways, the Russians had occupied it during their time there, and the dudes that lived there from our battalion said it was haunted as fuck.
Shit, I believe. What about you, Matt? You have any run-ins in the night shift? You're just like, oh shit,
Um,
this is creepy.
I can't remember from my first deployment, from my second deployment. I don't know. It was like 48 hours before we left Kajaki, or maybe the day before we left or something. But the company commander and I saw some, I don't know, weird shit that we can't explain.
Okay, all right, yeah,
We'll save that for
Yeah.
Chris's episode when we get him on.
sounds
Well,
good. All
yeah, all
right,
right. So we're gonna get into the second deployment. So since you brought up quotes in the book, in between first and second deployment, I threw in a quote from Alexander the Great. May God keep you away from the venom of the cobra, the teeth of the tiger, and the revenge of the Afghans. Stay tuned.
Foreboding, foreshadowing, dude.
all right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for part two of War Business: The Hired Guns of Helmand Province, our book review. When we pick it up next time, we're going to go into Matt's second deployment to Afghanistan. Thank you for listening. Keep your powder dry.
The War Business Podcast is brought to you by Matthew Bruneman, Brendan Clark, and Dakota Maynard. Editing by Stephanie Maynard. The theme song is California Wind by Bruno E. The War Business Podcast cover art is the copyrighted property of the War Business Podcast. The book, War Business: The Hired Guns of Helmand Province, is copyrighted by Wargate Books. Wargate Books is not responsible or liable for any material or conversations produced and expressed by the War Business Podcast.